If you've been following this series and you're ready to dive into the next exercise, then watch on. If this is the first time that you're finding this little series and you're like, what? This is a series, Fiona? What are you talking about? I'll put a card above and I will put a link in the description box below so that you can find the first video in the series and start at the beginning. Today we are talking about values, and values are really, really important because they can function as a lens through which you make your decision making. Often the kind of sludgy, difficult, efforty feeling that we have as we go through life or through work, particularly around managing people and projects and getting things done, where that feels really difficult, that's because actually what we're experiencing is a misalignment with our values and something is not quite in balance, or it's like causing us some conflict or friction because we are not aligned with our values. Often when I ask clients, do you know what your values are? They'll say, oh yeah. And I'll go, okay, great, what are they? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, no, actually, I don't know. So in this video, we are going to go through an exercise that will help you to identify what your values are. It's quite a big exercise, and so I've included a link in the description box to download a worksheet that you can use to fill in that will help you to answer the questions that we're about to talk through in the video. So question 1, what truly excites you and energizes you and puts a massive grin on your face? What are those things? So if you need to pause the video between each question, do that. Just make a quick list of the top things. Don't overthink it, just what comes to mind. And like what are those things that really fill you up and make you think, oh, that's so good. Okay, next question. What is most important in your life? What's most important in your life? So often that will be things like job security and family, my children, my partner, my parents often, might be having somewhere safe to live. It might be my health. For me, I've had some back issues recently, and so actually freedom of movement is really important to me. So note down any of those things that feel really important to you. The next question is, what are you most proud of? And this can be a confronting question for a lot of people because we've been kind of conditioned to not think it's okay to be proud of ourselves. I don't know, any of you who grew up in like the 80s and 90s might have experienced this. I certainly did, where if you were proud of yourself, people would be like, oh, you love yourself, that's gross, and it was really ridiculed actually to have a sense of pride in yourself. However, what I want you to know is that pride in oneself and that sense of satisfaction at achieving big, difficult, challenging things is a really key component of happiness and joy. And so I really invite you to spend some time and figure out what are those things that you're really, really proud of. So pop those down on your sheet and then we'll go to the next question. What compliments do you hear most often? And I want you to think about two different types here. The first one is compliments that you are willing to hear, and the second is compliments that you shrug off and you're like, yeah, no, that whatever. I don't really know why people are complimenting me on that. Because often, if you're somebody who struggles with self-belief and a little bit of self-worth, then there are things that you'll receive compliments for that you find confusing. You're just like, but why? Why am I getting complimented on this? It's obvious, or it's easy, or it's something that's just part of who I am, and I don't get why you think this is impressive. So we want to capture all of those, both categories, things that you are happy to be complimented about and things that you shrug off and think are a bit silly or pointless to be receiving compliments about. So pop those down. What are the compliments that you hear the most? All right, so that was good stuff. Next, we're going to some less good stuff. So write down the details of a time where you got really pissed off and annoyed and angry, if anger is an emotion that you can easily identify with, but irritated for sure, frustrated. And see if you can identify what value or values weren't being demonstrated or met. So this might be something like, my boss or my partner or someone in my life said they were going to do something and then they didn't do it, and I was really annoyed. And the value that's not being met there is about reliability. So have a think through, write down the details of that experience. What was it that was so annoying for you? And then see if you can unpick what is the value that's at play here, or not at play, as the case may be. All right, ready for the next one? Who are 3 people that you really admire? And they can be close to you, they can be far away from you. It might be, a famous person or a celebrity. It might be someone from history. Really doesn't matter. But write down the name of 3 people that you really admire, and what is it for each of them that you admire? Like, why is this person on your list? Okay, ready for the next one. If you had to describe yourself in 5 words, what would those words be? If you had to describe yourself in 5 words, what would those words be? Right, that's the end of the first phase. This is a chunky old exercise, so you might want to come back to it a few times. But what I want you to do now is look through the answers to those questions that you've already got and group them together. So it might be that you've got some that are about fun and play and sense of humour. It might be that you've got a bunch that are about freedom and autonomy and independence, or, curiosity and learning, exploring, adventure, that kind of stuff. Have a look and see if you can cluster them together into some groups. Now, the next part, you're going to need the worksheet or to Google for a list of values, or ChatGPT, or whatever your preferred AI is. So go and get your hands on a list of values. The list in the worksheet is 222 values. So there are absolutely bazillions of them. And I want you to go through the list and just highlight any that call to you. And I remember when I did this, I had about 15 to start with because it's such a big list. But again, the same as the last question, you'll notice some of them kind of cluster together in themes. That's absolutely fine. Go through and just highlight any that seem appealing to you. Once you've got that list, I want you to grab the information from the first part. I want you to grab your highlighted ones from the second part, and then have a look and see if you can identify what are kind of the top 5 to 7 values. So what are the key themes that you've identified out of the exercise so far? And then are there any ones that are absolutely non-negotiable, top priority, like this has to happen or life is over? Not over, that's a bit extreme, but the things that really, really, if you can live your life through this lens, everything would be really good. So for me, those are service and courage, and that makes sense because I am a coach, so my whole working life is in service to others, and courage, so that's what I spend my time doing, help build people's courage and empower them to go and try different things and get different results for themselves and create the change that they want, to build their self-belief. All of that good stuff comes through courage. And then I have this kind of follow-up series, so I've got 3 more that are connection, compassion and contentment, and those things show up in kind of the way that I work, the way that I run my family life. So for you, go through and see if you can identify what are the absolute pinnacle values for you that are the top of the mountain, peak values, and then are there any others that help you to achieve those key values? And then the last bit, we're on the home stretch. When you've got your list of maybe sort of up to 5 maybe values that are the ones that you're thinking, yeah, these feel just right for me. I want you to go through each one and operationalize them. So that's a big word. But what that means is I want you to have a think about what actions or words embody this value. So how do I know when I'm aligned with this value? What behaviour undermines this value? So what are the things that really piss me off or that go against that value? How do I know when this value is not being exemplified? And then brands or people that really exemplify this value. So you can find some examples of how this value looks in real life. And then any observations or reflections that show up for you. Again, there's a template in the worksheet, so go and grab that if you want to. All right. Whew, that was a lot. So you might need to come back to this a few different times. I think it actually took me a couple of months even of just occasionally kind of pulling this back out of the drawer, having a look, going, actually, is it connection or is it connection or is it family that's most important? No, it's really connection, and kind of going, is it this, is it that? And really try to settle in to what feels in your body most soothing and grounded, and where you're like, yeah, that is the thing that really makes the difference for me. Once you've done that and you're ready for the next step, click on the video where we are going to be looking at your favourite skills, not just the things that you're good at, but your favourite skills and also your strengths. So those are the things that you're good at and the things you actually like, because I don't know about you, but those are not always the same for me.